From shoes to furniture and automobiles to sporting goods, manufacturers of products and goods depend on high-quality leather to remain competitive in today's marketplace. And because raw hides represent as much as 50 to 60% of the cost in producing leather by a tanner, the quality and condition of the hides received by the tanner is paramount to their ability to meet their customers' demands. The United States Hide, Skin, and Leather Association is the only organization that specifically focuses on the issues and concerns of the U.S. hide and skin industry. Our purpose is to establish and maintain high standards for United States hides so that tanneries have a reliable and consistent source of raw materials. Our United States Hide, Skin, and Leather Association membership, from small family-owned businesses to large corporations, understands our important role in the tanner's supply chain. Beginning with the ranch and feedlot, and progressing through the transportation and slaughter of the cattle, to the preparation and shipment of animal hides, each step of the process affects the quality and uniformity of the final product. Attention to detail and commitment to quality, critical building blocks in the development of good long-term working relationships with the tannery, and the assurance of profitability for all parties concerned. Established in 1979, the United States Hide, Skin, and Leather Association was founded by an alliance of cattle producers, meat packers, and hide processors to establish standards and promote United States hides. Today, the United States Hide, Skin, and Leather Association works with an industry that is export-oriented, exporting 95% of hide production. With sales in excess of $3 billion, this represents over 35 million cattle hides per year, as well as calf, pig, and sow skins. Our mission is to establish new relationships with trading partners by creating awareness and preference for reliable, high-quality U.S. hides and the suppliers that process them. We work with allied trade associations such as the American Meat Institute, Leather Industries of America, and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Internationally, the United States Hide, Skin, and Leather Association is the United States official representative to the International Council of Hides, Skins, and Leather Traders Associations. Working with these association partners, the United States Hide, Skin, and Leather Association develops standards to refine and improve techniques in hide processing and help to develop best practices for curing, grading, shipping, receiving, claims, and trade. This ensures a consistent supply of quality hides, which are properly cured, graded, and packaged for the tannery. In support of the hide processor and the end user, the United States Hide, Skin, and Leather Association establishes standards for recourse and testing of hides in the event of a dispute over a transaction. These standards are included in the document Standards Governing the Export of North American Cattle Hides and are available on the United States Hide, Skin, and Leather Association website. Why should you buy cattle hides that have been raised and processed in the United States? There are numerous advantages in climate and cattle raising techniques here that produce superior hides. Secondly, the care of the hide after harvest by the packer and the hide processor maintains this quality. Lastly, the industry-based standards and training that furthers these advantages by creating consistency in service and product. The result? A quality product produced reliably that you can depend on. As one of the largest cattle producers, the United States has long been recognized as raising the most consistent, high-quality beef in the world. This is the result of selective breeding and attention to the health of the animal from birth to slaughter. Quality hides start with the health of the animal. Climate, quality of feed, and the conditions in which the animals are raised are all conducive to producing animals with excellent hide quality. Worldwide, there are more than 250 breeds of beef cattle. Over 60 of these breeds are present in the United States. However, a relatively small number of breeds, less than 20, constitute the majority of the genetics utilized in the U.S. for commercial beef production. The most common breeds of cattle raised in the United States are the Angus, Hereford, and Holstein. Known as the business breed, the Angus is characterized by its dark hair, fast growth, and adaptability to acclimate. Raised for their adaptability and hardiness, Herefords were the dominant breed of America's Old West. Primarily raised for beef production, this large, heavy breed is red in color with a white belly and head. Herefords are typically raised in feedlots and open prairies. Our most popular dairy cow is the Holstein, instantly recognized by its color patterns of black and white and red and white. This large, adaptable animal sets records for milk production and is most often raised in confinement pens so that hide damage is minimal. Because Holstein hides are thinner, larger, and non-branded, they're slightly more valuable than typical beef-bred hides. Other popular types of cattle found in the United States are Limousines, Charolais, and Simmentals. Americans are the second largest consumers of beef per capita, with over 90 million head of cattle at an average weight of 1,243 pounds each. The United States produces nearly 1/4 of all the beef consumed in the world. This high consumer demand, combined with the high level of care for the animal, ensures a ready, reliable supply of high-quality hides and the ability to fill rush orders for the tannery. Cattle raised in the United States are done predominantly under controlled confinement methods such as feedlots and cow palaces. The American rancher or farmer understands that the value of the herd's hides depends on the health of the cattle. U.S. producers are sensitive to land usage and respect environmental standards and are therefore socially responsible. The United States cattle industry is concentrated and professionally managed. The beef industry is highly influenced by major corporate ownership of the slaughter facilities, which allows for tighter vertical coordination, resulting in attention to hide removal with shorter time to process, which means higher quality. The breeding, feeding, and location of production facilities are integral to having a stable and secure infrastructure. This leads to a sophisticated, efficient, and modern supply chain. Several steps are taken to protect the quality of the hide, including modern husbandry practices, dehorning, feedlot raising that ensures proper nutrition, proper use of branding, the use of ear tags, reduced use of barbed wire, covered pens that reduce sunburn, and transportation practices that reduce injury. The climate of the United States contributes to hide quality as well. Average temperature variations for a majority of the country are favorable to producing cattle with consistent hide thickness year-round. This allows the tannery to have a more uniform split throughout the year. The mild climate also reduces the incidences of parasitic damage. The Humane Slaughter Act of 1978 mandates humane treatment of cattle while at a packing facility. This ensures that ramps, pens, and surrounding areas are maintained so that no injury can be caused to the animal while being moved into and around the facility while awaiting slaughter. Additionally, this act forbids the use of implements such as clubs or sharp objects that can cause bruising or injury to the animal prior to slaughter. Packing facilities understand the value of hides. Rather than treating hides as a waste byproduct, considerable expense and training has been invested in machinery and labor to maintain and limit damage to the hide. Mechanized hide-pulling devices are used to remove the hide from the carcass, eliminating the need for knives in this part of the hide removal process. This results in maximizing usable square footage of the hide for leather production. After the hide is removed, it is quickly transferred to the trimming line and onto the fleshing machines. On the trimming lines, hides are patterned by skilled trimmers according to the United States Hide, Skin, and Leather Association standards. At the fleshing machines, the goal is to achieve a close fleshing without damaging the hide. Here, the hides are monitored closely to ensure that the strict fleshing tolerances are adhered to. This is critical to ensure the most usable footage to the tanner. After trimming and fleshing, the hides move quickly to raceways filled with brine water or mixers containing a brine solution, which begins the preservation process. Performing this step promptly is key to maintaining hide quality. Antibacterial aids are added to the brine to make sure there is no bacterial growth during the process. Hides are typically soaked in these raceways or processed in the mixers for a minimum of 16 to 20 hours. This ensures that the hide is fully saturated with salt, and as a bonus, that some of the excess dirt and manure is rinsed away. After the curing operation, hides are removed from the raceway or vessels and taken to the cured hide grading tables. At that time, the hide is sorted for weight, sex, and brand location according to the United States Hide, Skin, and Leather Association standards. Accurate evaluation is critical, as the hides of different selections and weight carry different values. Once sorted and palletized by grade, the pallet is placed in a press. This further removes excess moisture from the stacked hides. Alternatively, hides are loaded into bags and pressed to remove moisture. Finished products are placed in inventory for a set amount of days before shipping. At the time of shipping, hides are placed on trucks for domestic and North American export and in containers for offshore locations. Export containers are lined to reduce any small amounts of brine that may be in the hides. Shippers also utilize absorbent materials inside the containers to further reduce any excess moisture. The United States Hide, Skin, and Leather Association has established standards that govern the export of United States hides. These standards are written from the perspective of and based upon the requirements of the tannery. These standards take into account the importance of maximizing yield of leather out of every hide, reducing rework by the tanner, having a hide accurately graded to create uniformity in the finished product, streamlining shipping and customs processing, and meeting the production goals of the tanner and their clients. There are two types of trim patterns for hides to be exported. The first is the standard hide trim. The standard trim for unfleshed hides removes, before salting, the horns, snouts, lips, ears, tailbone, sinews, and tendons. Excessive meat and fat should be removed as well. The second trim pattern is referred to as the modern trim pattern. For the modern trim fleshed pattern, hides should be machine fleshed to remove most fat and meat. Fleshed hides as delivered by the original supplier should not contain excess stringy or loose tissue, and along the backs the fleshing should be deep enough to open but not remove the veins. All ears, ear butts, snouts, and lips, fat and muscle tissue will be removed from the pate side of the head by cutting through the eye hole. The narrow side of the head should be trimmed through the eye in a similar manner. Removal of all ragged edges is necessary. Cow bags, teats, and cod bags should be removed, preserving standard pattern. A maximum tail length should be 6 inches, cured and measured from the root. In all cases, kosher heads should be removed by cutting across the top of the kosher cut. Foreshank should be trimmed straight across, either through the center of the knee or just above the knee. Hindshank should be trimmed straight across, above the dew claw holes. After trimming, the hides are to be graded by the processor according to the following grade standards. A number 1 hide has a hide free from holes, cuts, deep scores, or gouges more than halfway through the hide, visible grain defects and broken grain over 1 inch long and having a correct pattern. Allowable exceptions are rear shanks containing 1 hole, or cut below the hock that measures less than 1 inch in length, and holes less than 4 inches from the edge of the hide, which can be trimmed without spoiling the pattern of the hide. A number 2 hide contains either 1 to 4 holes, cuts, deep scores, or gouges in an area located inside a straight line drawn through the break in the hair of the fore and hind shanks, a grain break over 1 inch, an area of warts no larger than 1 square foot, or a hole, regardless of size, within the confines of a brand. A number 3 hide contains either 5 or more holes, cuts, deep scores, or gouges in an area located inside a straight line drawn through the break in the hair of the fore and hind shanks, 1 hole or cut over 6 inches, an area of warts or open grub holes larger than 1 square foot. A machine damaged hide will be considered a number 3 hide if at least 50% of the surface area of the hide is present and usable for leather manufacture. If less than 50% is present, the hide will be considered untannable. Sellers should not deliver number 3 hides without the consent of the buyer. These trim patterns and gradings are the basis from which discussions and contracts can be established. The seller and buyer can agree to different trim patterns and grading if they wish. The United States Hide, Skin, and Leather Association members use the International Contract 6 as a template for a standard contract. Unless otherwise agreed to, the standards governing the export of North American cattle hides document contains the conditions for performance for transactions by both parties. Covered in most contracts and the standards governing the export of North American cattle hides documents are expectations of weights, conditions for shipping, allowable variations, obligations for each party, methods for resolving unseen issues with hides, mediation and dispute resolution. In the United States, there is transactional transparency. Price discovery is developed through daily and weekly reporting from independent publication services. The U.S. government requires that all exports are reported, and this information is provided to the public on a weekly basis by quantity and destination. Most importantly, There is price uniformity in that all U.S. hides are sold on a dollar basis. U.S. Hides are the only rawhide supplier that can service all leather types, whether they are footwear, leather goods, residential upholstery, or automotive leathers. Keeping the hide industry strong in America. That's the goal of the United States Hide, Skin, and Leather Association. Our members and trade alliance partners have come together, committed to expanding our role in the domestic and international leather products industry by setting both production standards and trade strategies, which will ensure our customers a consistent, quality product available only in the USA.